Diaries of a Madman. Written by What Must I Do? Chapter 5 Twilight's Challenge, Part 2.
You summoned an Alpine?
Twilight squeaked, staring at it in shock.
Of course, nothing but the best for Trixie, unlike your flimsy ape thing.
She mocked. Hey, at least I'm not as ugly as that thing. I shot back. The elephant snarled and surged forward, but Trixie hissed, making it slink back, glaring at me. Twilight sighed and said,
I should mention, Nav, that Alpines are sapient and can talk. Trixie isn't just gonna let her familiar control her, unlike you.
Trixie stated smugly.
At least I'm not stupid enough to summon a familiar.
Twilight shot back. To be fair, I broke in. You were stupid enough to summon me instead. Twilight glared at me while Trixie laughed.
Not even your pet is on your side. This competition truly will be easy.
And I'm not a pet either, I said.
Well, legally.
Twilight started before being cut off by the blue cunt.
Enough talk. Trixie didn't spend months preparing to listen to you two quabble.
It's not quabbling, I said. It's arguing. Get it right.
Trixie is going to enjoy watching her familiar beat you,
Trixie growled.
which would be against the rules.
Twilight said.
No pony is to be hurt. No pony is to be hurt,
Trixie said with a smirk. See, that's exactly what I said. Twilight rolled her eyes and said,
Either amend it or we're leaving. I'm not going to let Nav get hurt. Oh, and is your precious pet more important than the possible prize? I don't want any of my friends to get hurt. If that means I lose out, I lose out. Fine. You hear that, Finny?
She said to the ugly thing standing next to her.
Be gentle.
The thing glared at her with all the hate it could possibly pull into its heart before turning that hatred back at me.
Now, can we finally start? Yes. What manner of competition did you have in mind?
Twilight asked.
There are several types, and each of us brought a pet along so we can have a fun little bout.
Trixie said with an unnerving smile.
But they can have their fun after we have ours.
See, that makes it sound perverted.
So, what? We compete?
Twilight asked.
What are we doing? A magic competition, of course.
Trixie said, glaring at Twilight.
The last pony standing wins.
See, that makes it sound like someone's gonna get hurt, I said, crossing my arms.
Silence, ape.
Trixie shot back.
Your betters are speaking.
On second thought, I agree with her rules, I said. Kick her fucking ass, Twilight.
As much as I dislike violence, I'm starting to agree. Very well, Trixie. So where are we doing this? Trixie and her familiar have cleared this courtyard to use in for these bouts, so that is where we shall compete. And of course, you and Trixie will go first. You two, wait against the wall.
Trixie's horn lit up, shoving me and the wolf thing towards the wall. I took the hint and shrugged, walking that way. The elephant seemed more reluctant to go, but followed anyway.
So, how's this going to work?
Twilight asked as we walked away. I didn't pay attention to Trixie's answer because, truth be told, I was tired of that blueberry cunt. So, is Finny your real name? I asked the Alpine. It is not. It sounded like, growled. And if you say it again, I will disembowel you where you stand. Alright, so what is your name then? My kind do not use names, he contemptuously answered. That's gotta be confusing. How do you know who's talking to who? We rarely talk. Twilight and Trixie were squaring off at this point, each walking to one side of the arena. That makes it easier, you know. I get the feeling you don't want to be here. I don't. Twilight's horn lit up and a small shield expanded around her. Why not leave then? Or, fuck, rip that cunt's throat out. Trixie smirked at Twilight's shield, and her horn lit up as well. Storm clouds appeared out of nowhere.
If only. A deal was made with my kind long ago. I follow the tenets of the deal.
Twilight seemed to be holding on the defensive, not making any more moves past the shield conjuring. The storm clouds covered the sky above the arena. So, you guys work as familiars. What do you get out of it? Twilight finally seemed to be tired of waiting. Her horn lit up again, and a beam of purple light shot out at Trixie.
We get what we can take.
Lightning struck Twilight's shield before the beam could hit Trixie, surprising both me and Twilight. The beam of light she was casting dispelled in her shock before it could hit Trixie. The Elfine didn't react, and Trixie began to laugh as more bolts rained down. What you can take? I said, not trying to let my shock show. What does that mean? Twilight seemed to recover from the initial surprise and shrunk her shield so it covered less area. Then she teleported, leaving the shield in its place.
The deal is that if the spellcaster makes a mistake, we take advantage of it.
Trixie began frantically looking around the arena for Twilight before her horn stopped glowing, allowing the lightning to cease. She began to slowly walk towards the shield, casting her eyes around. What can he do with that advantage? Steal things? Hurt others? Trixie was slowly approaching the shield, starting to look angry. She yelled something that I couldn't hear over the rumblings in the sky.
Whatever we can. There are many choices when it comes to mistakes a caster can make.
Trixie finally made it to the shield, and lightly kicked it with one of her legs. As soon as she touched it, her eyes went wide as she was pulled inside of it. Do you guys kill or just torment? Seems like a bad idea to do something too bad if you want to keep people summoning you. Twilight reappeared just outside of the bubble, smiling in at Trixie. Trixie's horn lit up, and the purple shield changed to blue. Twilight frowned.
We do not kill. We take.
The newly blue bubble exploded outward, cracking the walls behind it and throwing Twilight halfway across the courtyard before something pulled her out of the air. Trixie's horn was still in its nightlight form, and the robe that stretched Twilight had the same aura around it. Interesting. Huh. Take, like, spellbooks or something? The rope that grabbed Twilight split into two, wrapping around her front and back legs. She recovered while it was tying her.
No. We take casters. If possible, of course. If not them, whatever we can.
Twilight's horn lit up and the ropes dissolved away from her, but something new entered the fray. Why? What do you do with them? What looked like a door frame flew across the courtyard, surrounded by Trixie's aura. Twilight saw it coming and her horn lit up as well.
Enslave them. Magic is useful.
The frame stopped right in front of Twilight, half held in a blue aura and half held in purple aura. I was too busy watching to see what Trixie was doing. How do you keep them enslaved? Can't they just escape or do damage? A blue hoof suddenly shot out of the door, slapping Twilight across the face. When I looked back over to Trixie, she had one of her legs shoved through her hat, flinging it around.
When we pull them with us, they are bound as we were to follow every command given. We do not make the same mistakes they do.
When Twilight realized what had happened, she leaned back and her horn lit even brighter, wrapping around Trixie's hoof. The blue mare had a moment to look surprised before she was ripped through her hat and out of the door. So, they gotta do whatever you tell them. Twilight grinned and tried to return the slap to Trixie's face, but Trixie grabbed Twilight's hoof and used that to pull her into a very painful-looking headbutt.
Yes.
You ever see two unicorns butt heads? I couldn't believe it happened without anyone getting gored. Twilight went down hard and Trixie fell back, heavily dazed. And you want to do that to Trixie? It took her a good moment to recover, but Trixie finally shook herself and smiled victoriously. Twilight still not moving.
More than anything,
He growled. Looks like round one is over, I said. He didn't reply. Trixie's horn lit up and wrapped around Twilight, and she began to drag her over our way.
See that, Ape? Trixie beat your precious unicorn.
With that, she unceremoniously tossed Twilight my way, thankfully not doing any damage to her. What? You want a fucking medal? I answered as I knelt down, checking on her. Breathing fine, in pain and out of it, but she'll live.
It's your turn to face Trixie,
she said. I hope you have some patience then, because I ain't going nowhere without making sure Twilight's okay.
Psh, she's still breathing. That means she'll be fine.
I carefully rolled Twilight onto her back, lightly tapping against her face. You in there? I quietly said, looking down at her. It took a few seconds to open a set of confused eyes.
What? Oh, my head.
One of her hooves lifted up to feel the area where Trixie slapped her shit.
Trixie beat you,
the blueberry bitch happily called, making Twilight wince from the noise. I reached down to Twilight's belly and began gently rubbing it, since I know most ponies like it when I do that for some reason. Relax, Twilight. She's just a lot more hard-headed than you. Of course her headbutt did more damage.
Twilight just isn't as good as Trixie,
the mayor haughtily said. If you don't stop being a bitch, I will reach across this unicorn and slap a hoe, I said.
Trixie is no dog, Ape. Trixie will have you know.
Before she could react, I leaned over Twilight and pimp slapped Trixie across the face. She was too shocked to even react. You said it was my turn next, right? I asked, standing up and rolling my shoulders. Let's fucking go.
Trixie will make you pay for that.
Make my day, I replied, walking past her.
Having the chance to lose to Trixie should make your whole life, Ape,
she replied, strutting off to her side of the arena. As I faced her down from the other side, I realized I had no idea how I was going to fight someone with fucking magic. Maybe I should have thought about that before I pissed her off. Oops. While I was waiting for her to give the signal to start, I went ahead and loaded up the crossbow. I honestly expected it to do me much good, especially since Twilight didn't seem to realize the difference between broadhead bolts and practice bolts. Though, to be fair, I didn't really want to kill Trixie, but I wouldn't complain if I put an extra breathing hole in her. After all, if she's still breathing, she'll be okay. Fucking bitch.
Trixie trusts that you are ready,
she called across the field. Bring it, I called back.
Trixie shall go easy on you. It isn't your fault that you were born to be so inferior after all.
I ignored that and did a quick scan of the arena ground. Aside from the open door frame and a few bounds of rope lying around in various places, it was empty of any manner of advantages. The frame gave me a few interesting ideas, if it was still connected to Trixie's hat. All I had to do was get to it and I had a straight gate to her head. And then I smiled, thinking of my lighter and some alcohol. She seemed content to watch me slowly amble forward, since I wasn't really making any sudden movements or giving any indication that I was thinking about heading towards the door. Her horn didn't bother lighting up, since she thought I would be an easy target. It didn't take long for her to get bored, though. Finally, Trixie's magic snatched one of the loops of rope and it started shooting towards me. I quickly slung the crossbow and pulled out my knife, suddenly thankful for all the time I spent dealing with rope on a farm. She tried wrapping around my off arm, but I was able to pull back enough to use the serrations to tear through the relatively flimsy rope. With it shortened, she tried going after the arm that had the knife, thinking it was an easier target. She was wrong. I grabbed it with my offhand and reversed the grip on the knife, cutting through the rope even as she tried to wrap the remnants around both of my arms to cinch them in place. The rope was now about half its original size, too short to be of use. She tried to entangle it around my legs, but I stomped it flat and marched on, leaving in the dust of the eroded courtyard.
So you're smarter than Trixie thought,
she said with a small grin.
Maybe this will actually be interesting.
And maybe your daddy didn't molest you, but I'm starting to think he should have.
I began to change my angle as I went, subtly heading towards the door. The crossbow was still sheathed and my knife was out, ready for more rope. She didn't disappoint in that department, sending 3 of them at me at once. Thank God I'm not a Japanese schoolgirl. When I saw them coming for me, I began running.
Oh, Trixie loves it when they run, but Trixie will drag you back and make you forget all about your precious Twilight sparkle.
Oh god, what? That thought was punctuated by one of the ropes latching around my legs. I dragged it with me for a few steps before it jerked back, knocking me down to the dirt. When I hit, I instantly dropped the knife, sending it skittering away from me, and it sounded and felt like the crossbow shot itself. When a few seconds passed and I didn't get tossed up for her sick BDSM fantasies, I hesitantly looked up. Trixie's mouth was gaping, and one of her hooves was pressing against her ear. When she brought it back down, I saw there was some blood and a hole in her ear, presumably from the crossbow bolt. As she screamed in rage, I jumped back to my feet, wincing at the pain in my skinned hand and legs. The rumblings in the clouds started up again, and I knew I had a very short amount of time before lightning started falling to vaporize me. Thankfully, I landed very close to the door. Here's hoping this pays off. I quickly dug through my pockets, pulling out the bottle of booze and my lighter. Since both my hands were full, I just bit the cork and ripped it out, spitting it to the side. That done, I shook the bottle towards the door, hoping my gamble would pay off. When I heard Trixie's squawk of surprise and I didn't see any fall on the ground, I knew I had this in the bag. I turned to her with a grin, flipping over my trusty Zippo. You know, I did think your voice was hot. That said, I cranked the wheel, lighting it up. Let's make the same true for the rest of you. And then I thrust the lighter through the portal. Nothing happened for a moment, and Trixie just stared at me in confusion. Then the smoke began coming out from under her hat. It didn't take her long at that point to realize she was on fucking fire. Then the screaming began. She started flailing around, beating at her hat and trying to get the flames to stop. I calmly walked up to her as she was doing that. Since she was a little distracted, she didn't pay me any mind. When I got right in front of her, I punched that bitch straight in the nose, dropping her like my ISP used to drop me all the time. With her out of the count, I simply pulled off her hat and kicked dirt into her hair until it was out. Trixie now had a new bald spot on her head, where the fur and hair had both been burned off. There was no real permanent damage since most of the fire was from alcohol and the hat was now destroyed, but she wasn't going to be winning any beauty contests for a while. Then I just left her there and walked over to where the knife fell, picking it up and closing it. Twilight was sitting up and had apparently been watching the affair, so I walked to her next. The elephant was sitting next to her, saying nothing. So, what now? I asked.
Well, the competition isn't really over,
Twilight said.
Right now it's a tie and every pony still hasn't fought.
So, Trixie's out cold, I said. I say we loot whatever prize it was she was going to give you and just leave.
That's stealing.
And it's hidden well.
The Alpine added.
I am unable to tell you where.
Wait, you're still here?
Twilight asked.
Shouldn't you be helping her?
Why? I was given no order.
Oh, right. Familiar.
Twilight sighed, lying back.
Celestia, my head is killing me.
Now you know how the rest of us feel whenever we look at it, I said, sitting next to her and putting my hand on her belly again.
That was really mean,
She sighed as I began rubbing again.
Mating ritual?
The elephant asked, looking bored. Twilight immediately turned bright red and tried to push my hand away, but she was still fairly weak from getting wrecked. Nah, I answered. Just a way to help her relax. Try as she might, I didn't stop. After a few seconds of struggling, she just sighed, falling back.
We really should be helping Trixie, you know.
Twilight said after a minute or so of silence. Why? She smells like burnt hair. Ain't no way I want to go over there.
You're the one that lit her on fire.
Well, maybe she shouldn't have been such a bitch.
You keep saying that word.
The elephant said.
What does it mean to you?
It's a pretty big insult where I come from, I replied with a shrug. Not the worst, but effective. If you'd prefer, I can use other words.
Insults matter little to me.
Besides, I added, I only punched Trixie in the face. She should be up again, soonish. I'm not exactly the model of strength, especially compared to you damn ponies. Sure, I had the stamina and the height over them, but they had the strength and weight. Fucking mini horses, man. After a few more seconds, Twilight sighed again before sitting up.
As reprehensible as Trixie is, I still can't let her just lie over there until she wakes up.
After struggling to stand for a few seconds, she shrugged.
But I also don't have to get up to get her.
With that, her horn lifted up and lifted Trixie up. You know, I said, she dragged you over here. Trixie stopped moving, and then tossed you at me. Trixie hit the ground with a nice thud, and the purple aura around her surrounded her tail. Then she started to drag her across the ground. Hey, do you see any patches of glass? Twilight didn't respond. Soon enough, Trixie was lying in front of us instead of well away from us.
How long should we wait before healing her?
Twilight asked. If you can heal, why don't you just heal yourself? I asked.
Because your belly rubs feel really, really good.
She answered, blushing slightly and smiling. You know you could just ask for one at any time, right? I said, pulling my hand back. I know all you ponies are tummy sluts. Twilight snorted at that and looked over to Trixie.
Would you ever give her one?
Whoa, now, I said you guys are sluts, not me. My hands are pure. She rolled her eyes. Anyway, shouldn't you be healing yourself and then her?
I suppose.
Her horn lit up and encased her body in an aura before receding back.
Much better.
She was finally able to hop up, and though she wobbled on her hooves for a moment as if half dizzy.
She really does have a hard head.
She sighed, walking over to Trixie's limp form.
But now it's a hard head with a little less of a mane.
She added with a giggle. Oh man, do you have a mirror? I asked. We could do one of those really funny reveals where we try not to say anything before pointing to the mirror. Then she looks and screams.
If only. Sadly, there wasn't exactly space to bring a mirror in our cloaks.
Twilight's horn lit up again and she touched it to Trixie's forehead. The aura slowly traversed her body before sucking back into Twilight. The blue horn the ground shifted.
Oh, my head.
She groaned, falling out of third person.
What happened?
She asked before slowly standing up. Welcome to the wonderful world of You're Bald, I happily called, lifting both arms widely as if to congratulate her. Her mouth dropped as Twilight tried to fight back the giggles. Eventually she said,
Trixie is what? Finny, is Trixie bald?
Partially.
What do you mean, partially?
You have a large bald spot now.
Trixie collapsed right back to the ground, feeling all around her head with her hooves, until she found the very noticeable spot missing a lot of hair.
Trixie's mane!
Her summon lasted all for a few seconds before it turned to rage.
This is all your fault, ape!
She yelled, surging back to her feet.
I'll end you!
She pounced at me, but Twilight's magic stopped her.
Now, Trixie. You've already had your turn against Nav.
She cheerfully said.
And you lost. Fire and square.
At some point, Trixie couldn't tell who she should be glaring at. I knew, though. Twilight, that was almost as bad as her Trix pun earlier. Everyone here is a little bit more humorless for having heard it, and you should be ashamed.
Worth it.
She replied with a shrug and a smirk.
Trixie despises you all.
She hissed at us.
Finny, it is your turn to fight Navarone. Teach him a lesson.
I took one look at the Alpine that quickly stood to his feet. Huh. Hey, can you do anything weirder than look cool?
I am one of our kind that can breathe fire.
He immediately replied, sending a lick of flame to the ground to prove it. You know what? Nah, I said, shaking my head. You win. I ain't fighting that shit. I don't want to be like little Miss Crispy over here.
Trixie will kill you!
She screamed, struggling to get at me again through Twilight's continued hold.
You sure, Nav?
Twilight asked.
I mean, you beat Trixie. Alphines are strong, but not invincible.
Twilight, I am wearing clothing. Clothing that is fucking flammable. I don't want to get lit on fire, as I am here on a favor for you. I'm not getting anything out of this. Because of that, I'm not going to get lit on fire for it. Now that you're done underestimating our pretty little blueberry over there, We can wrap this up quickly by you clunking their heads together and calling it a day. So yeah, I'm not fighting him. He wins. Twilight shrugged and said,
Fair enough. What?
Trixie yelled.
Burn him anyway!
Twilight teleported Trixie between me and the Alpine, facing her.
That goes against our agreement, and since Navarone is a very endangered species, hurting him is a very serious crime. If you recall, I'm the prince's personal student. All I have to do is send her a quick letter and she'll be here in a flash. So I suggest you remember that before you start telling your illegal familiar to start throwing around fire.
Illegal?
The Alpine asked, tilting his head. What do you mean, endangered? I demanded.
Princess?
Trixie gasped.
Oh, yeah.
Twilight said to the Alpine.
Regular Alphins are discouraged from being summoned, as any pony that's ever studied magic knows, but greater Alphins that can breathe fire have been illegal for some time now. They're way too cunning and dangerous to be risked.
This is news.
He replied, sitting on his haunches.
Bad news, but it explains much.
Ah, yes, Trixie.
Twilight said with a hint of smugness, turning to her.
I am Princess Celestia's personal student. I assumed you would have known. No pony ever said. How was I supposed to know?
Twilight shrugged before finally turning to me.
Yes, Navarone. As the only one of your kind, you are endangered. Well, technically extinct since you can't reproduce. But the point remains. Just a technicality, of course. Though, since you're an invasive species, I think the laws would probably be waived in many cases to count as simple assault, rather than attacking an endangered species.
Huh. I wonder if I can twist Luna's arm to getting that invasive species thing taken off.
Like a princess would listen to you.
Trixie haughtily mocked, trying to regain her color after learning who she just challenged.
Luna probably would,
Twilight replied.
Nav's one of her best friends, after all.
And that got Trixie's mouth to drop yet again.
But the competition isn't over. I suppose the Alpha and I still have to fight. And he'll win, too,
Trixie asserted vehemently, finding her voice again. The Alphane just snorted and started walking in its place in the arena.
Now you two play nice,
Twilight said, setting Trixie down.
The princess would be quite upset if something were to happen to Nav, Trixie. And I would be upset if something happened to Trixie, Nav. Trixie will tolerate this ape, for now, but she won't like it.
I'll think about it, I said with a shrug. You have fun now.
Oh, don't worry,
she said, walking to her spot.
This won't take long.
Trixie smirked as Twilight walked off.
Overconfident horse,
she muttered darkly. You know, you really should try being more pleasant.
Trixie doesn't need your advice, ape.
Twilight was still slowly making her way to the spot. I bet a hug would make you feel better, or maybe a nice belly rub.
If you touch Trixie, she will remove your filthy paws.
Oh, into the kinky stuff. Maybe you'd like a spanking instead.
Trixie will hurt you if you do not stop talking.
I bet you love being a bottom too. Ain't me too ugly with all that hair gone. When I said that, her teeth started grinding so hard I thought they might break, till I finally got across from the Alphin.
At least this will be over soon,
she forced out through clenched teeth.
Then Trixie will claim you as a prize and teach you proper manners.
Like hell you will. There'd be a knife through your spine as soon as you turned your back on me. Or maybe I'd just hold it against your throat and toy with you for a little while. Teach you who the real master is. She snorted derisively as the Alphin began charging Twilight, who didn't move.
Trixie underestimated you once. She will not do so again, and she will teach you a lesson, ape.
Not like it'll happen anyway. You're just pissy because Twilight's so much better than you are. The Alphin was getting close. Twilight was just grinning as her horn lit up. Better and prettier. Not that I could really tell. They all looked like horses. Especially since you're half bald now. I bet you have to practically beg stallions to service you. Though I can't imagine any would have anyway, with your shitty attitude.
That's it!
She launched herself off the ground towards me, forgetting she could even do magic. I casually stepped aside, slapping her flank as she surged past me. I could faintly see Twilight casting some spell at the Alphin in the background, making him disappear. As soon as he vanished, Trixie collapsed and Twilight began walking back toward us.
How did she get over there?
Twilight asked, looking at Trixie, who was struggling to stand. Eh. She tried punching me, and then you cast that spell and she collapsed.
Oh, I just dispelled her familiar. Since a unicorn has to create a form of magical bond when they summon one, it drains a unicorn when the familiar is dispelled or killed. It took Trixie months to summon it,
She groaned, forcing herself up. And one spell to dispel it, I said with a smile. I guess that makes Twilight you better at yet another thing.
Nav, please.
Twilight said, putting a hoof on my arm. I just shrugged as she walked over closer to Trixie.
This competition is over, Trixie. It was a tie. You get nothing, I get nothing. Are you happy now? Not until Trixie beats you.
She growled, her eyes narrowing in anger.
Your familiar is gone,
Twilight said.
and you can't summon it again for at least a full day. Nav and I aren't sticking around that long. In fact, we'll probably just be leaving in a few minutes. If you want to come with us, I'm sure I can find you a spell to get your hair back. Trixie doesn't need your charity, and this competition is not over. Trixie has a tiebreaker planned.
Twilight sighed, her shoulders and head drooping slightly.
Trixie, please. There's no need for this. There's not even any pony here to see it. Trixie will not lose. Not again. You didn't even lose the first time. I was just saving the town. Prepare yourself, Twilight. Trixie has been practicing the spell for ages.
Twilight sighed, backing up to me and bringing up a shield.
Go for it.
She replied, bored. Quieter, she muttered.
Not like it'll matter. Mock Trixie all you want, Sparkle, but Trixie did something you could never do. She made her own spell. You what? Are you mad?
Twilight was either horrified or shocked, I don't know. What's the big deal? I asked as Trixie cackled and began charging her horn.
Experimenting with new magic is dangerous.
Twilight answered, pulling me back.
There's no telling what it could do, and if somebody like Trixie did it, it might not even be finished.
What's the worst that could happen? I said, waving a hand. I would soon come to regret saying that.
Spell my name to the skies.
Trixie called out, her voice becoming more of a rumble.
Hear my name in their cries.
I could practically feel the magic in the air as the whistling began to pick up.
Surround my form with all the lights.
Arcane symbols began to appear in the air, tearing out of the immaterium to bring power to this new spell.
As I bring the crowd true delights.
Trixie's horn was as bright as the sun, but I couldn't look away. It was as though I was drawn to her.
Show them all I am the best.
The rustling wind was now roaring. I began to hear whispers in it, dark things speaking in language that sounded familiar, but was unrecognizable.
And nothing like all the rest.
And just like that, there was immediate silence. The wind stopping.
Oh, Celestia, she miscounted the syllables.
Twilight screamed. The last thing I saw was the look of absolute horror on Trixie's face as she realized what she had done. Then there was an explosion of light and sound, and I went down hard. A note from your friend Discord. Imagine my surprise when I saw such an explosion of raw chaos caused by such intense ambition. Let me tell you, I was quite surprised. It has been so long since any of the ponies had failed so spectacularly in making their own spell. Though, to be fair, it had been quite a while since any of them even tried making spells. But then I saw how badly this Trixie messed up, and I took the time to study why she did. I decided an intervention of sorts was in order. So I showed my true form in the arena, stopping time at the precise moment of the explosion before I could do too much more to Trixie aside from almost completely obliterating her horn. Since there weren't many safe havens for me left in the other world, I took her to a special place that was set up under the Everfree Forest, a fastness of chaotic power that Celestia never found. To do this the easy way or the fun way? I mused, setting the still frozen Trixie on the floor of the ever-changing cavern. Well, the deal says no trickery, so I suppose I'll have to do it the easy way. No disguises this time. Though scaring her with an Alpine would be fun. But no matter. I stepped out of the light for a moment, disappearing from the view, and snapped my fingers to wake Trixie up. She jerked free, flinching away from the expected pain that never came, though she had to feel she didn't have a horn anymore.
Where is Trixie?
she fearfully asked, looking around.
And why can't Trixie do magic?
One of her hooves lifted to her head, feeling around for a horn that was no longer there.
Oh, Celestia.
She whispered, her eyes going wide. I'm afraid you made quite a large mistake, my dear, I said, not stepping out of the darkness.
Who's there?
She demanded.
Trixie orders you to show yourself.
Oh, and I would obey, but I fear I would give you quite a fright. Needless to say, it was I who saved you, though I do fear I did so a second too late.
What do you mean?
Your horn, your magic, they have both left you, Trixie. She finished black, closing her eyes. But I can change that. Her eyes both jerked open in wonder.
You can?
She asked, overjoyed. Remembering herself and her haughty attitude, she added,
Do it.
Now, why would I go and do that? What would I get out of it, after all? And of course, what's to stop you from making the same mistake again?
If you will not help Trixie, she'll find somebody who will.
Oh, some pony. How I despise Celestia for doing that. Who's to say I won't help you? You just have to make it worth my while. And of course you needn't worry what I won't do the same for you. With my offer comes as well the offering of training, to show you how to truly overpower Twilight Sparkle and show her who the master of true magic is.
Trixie is no student.
Yes, and Trixie is also a loser who lost to Twilight twice in a row. What does she have that you do not?
Trixie doesn't need to hear this.
Oh, but you do. Twilight has a teacher, Trixie. A pony that knows more about magic than you ever will, without my help. And once again, I could be that help you need. For a prize. She grit her teeth and turned away. Or I could return you to your existence of suffering, missing a horn and certain to be arrested for performing illegal magic. Oh, you would have some minute satisfaction from watching Twilight and her humans suffering from the effects of your miscast spell, but they would be fixed, and you would suffer all the worse for it. Instead, I offer you my assistance. Choose.
Trixie is listening,
she answered without turning around. In my dark corner, I smiled. First, introductions are in order, I said, stepping from the shadows. She turned to face me and gasped in horror at my chimeric form. I am Discord, Lord of Chaos, I said with an overly theatrical bow.
What? What are you?
She whispered, stepping back. I am a monster, a villain, and one that will teach you how to defeat Twilight Sparkle. But first, your horn. She flinched back as I lifted my talons, but was too afraid to say a word as I brought them to her head. With but a thought, I restored her pointless horn, and though I added a small bit of flair to it, instead of her normal spiraled horn, chunks of the original hung above her head, as though trapped in a lava lamp shaped like a horn.
What did you do to Trixie's horn?
Just giving you my mark, I replied with a smile. It won't be the only change, though. The others will be more gradual. And now we will begin your training, Trixie Lilymoon.
Trixie is ready. Discord.
She slowly answered, not quite sure what to think. My smile deepened since I knew that I had won. Oh my, what fun we will have together, you and I. What fun, indeed. Damn, the original file of this, no, actually, this episode is supposed to come out yesterday. However, my file got corrupted. Mid-edit, by the way. 2 days of work thrown away because Adobe decided, hey, this file doesn't deserve to live. But hey, you know, re-record and re-edit, all this fun stuff. I'm just sad I wasn't able to get it out yesterday or the day before, but here it is now. I hope you guys enjoyed this. But who I do know enjoy my not suffering and love me because they're far too kind are my wonderful Patreons. Thank you, Squall, Windfeather, Rainflicker, Starlight Blaze, Dreamless Portal, and Redeemer of Dark. Chase, Lemaster, Sword Brother and Mordred, Danish Dash, Night and Game, DJMX 2000, Endless, Solus, RD Bryant, Captain Blue Shadow, Nocturne, HKH4AK, Texture the Animated, Ghost Ink, and Panzer. And of course, a large thank you to my Titan tiers, Dark Guardian, Maverick, and the requester of this series, Silent Titan. I appreciate your guys' support so much, and it means a ton to me. That aside, however, this has been Firehearth. Have a wonderful day.